The rhythmic phrase we worked on in the previous section is not a random one. It came from some lyrics I wrote and kept in a Word document on my PC. It was an unfinished lyrical statement, a beginning of a poem, an observation that could maybe be written to a friend in a letter or something. Now, I have a big text file with those statements, random thoughts, stolen phrases, ideas, and anything that can be tooled and shaped into a lyric for a song. I fill it whenever I'm inspired, sometimes with just beautiful sounding words like languish or roadkill. And sometimes complete verses come rolling out. I write them down and I keep them. I do the same with chord grooves and harmonic ideas. Often these come from improvisation. I just start playing in whatever style and whatever technique, and if something halfway decent comes out, I record it. I save it on my hard drive and label it as best as I can. I could call a chord groove or harmonic idea something like drop D, percussive groove in D major, acoustic, John Mayer style, or whatever. Once I'm in a composing mode, I go through my archive and start puzzling things together. Because I write from chord grooves and rhythm is my main inspiration, I often start with the chord progression and there's at least the beginning of some harmony. In the example of the last section, the inspiration came from a chord groove I stole from Sean Colvin and two inversions of chords I got from the guitar player of Incubus from the song 11 a.m., which is one very important tip for you. Steal from the best and don't get caught. I threw these chords around and came up with a groove I liked. I wrote an intro to it and the beginning of a verse. All of this came from improvising with these chords, as you can hear. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I had that, it became time to start puzzling with some lyrics. So I opened my big Word ideas file, and out popped this line. I was going about my life in a state of denial. I was going about my life in a state of denial. And this is where the writing begins. I had to work on the ideas from the lyric, which means spending time with dictionaries, a thesaurus, rhyming word books, etc., and a lot of staring out the window. But at the same time, I started working on the melody. Once you have a snippet of a lyric, you can start doing things with it to see what comes up. For starters, you can subdivide the phrase into syllables, and you'll get something like this. I was going about my life in a state of denial. This is the beginning of a rhythmic structure for a melody. Because the song has 4 bars, a 4/4 rhythm pattern, and we're playing in eighths, we have 32 spots where we can place the 15 syllables of I was going about my life in a state of denial. Certain words or word structures can be combined together, like I was to was, or about to bout. Other syllables can be split and lengthened into more parts if they contain at least one vowel, like ah or o. The word life can be made into life or state. You can fit more melody notes on top of those vowels and play with rhythmic structures. When you read the phrase out loud, you'll find that certain words are stressed more than others. Which word you stress can greatly influence the meaning of what you say. Think about the sentence, do you want this? You could stress the word do, and out comes, do you want this? The word do would rise in pitch, and you would be asking if the you really wants this. With
Do you want this? The you would be higher in pitch, and the question would say, hey, I don't want this, but do you? And then there's, do you want this or not? And, do you want this or something else?
Each time the stress is slightly different, the meaning is different, and the stressed word is higher in pitch. On top of it, the expression is a question, so the inflection at the end of the sentence will be up too. All this gives you some first ideas about pitch levels of the words in the expression, and this can be a guide when you're composing a melody. Now let's go back to my lyric and look at which words get stressed.
I was going about my life in a state of denial. You could stress I and come up with I was going about my life in a state of denial. But this lyric would suggest that there was somebody else with the same predicament. I was. No, I was. The word going receives some stress in a normal speech pattern and could function as the first target word. I was going about my life in a state of denial. Other words that get a logical sounding stress are I was going about my life in a state of denial. These four words, going, life, state, and denial, are likely to be structural contour notes. They'll probably sound best if they are sung on top of a stressed beat or stressed part of a beat.
The rhythm of the accompaniment has a clearly stressed beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that would be a great place to put this first stressed word, which in our lyric is the word going, which means that the words I was are going to be a pickup and unstressed. So I'll need to use an anticipated note in the melody before beat 1 to accommodate for the pickup. These could be two notes, giving each syllable a separate note, or swallow the I and connect both the sounds to a was. Because the word gone is now on beat 1, which is a stressed beat, and we want a firm statement at the beginning of a melody, a chord tone is the best way to go. Most melodies at the beginning of a phrase will target a chord tone, which means tonic, third, or fifth, and in rarer cases, the seventh of the chord. Non-chord tones sound weaker, and unless you have a clear purpose for coloring the lyric that way, it's best to stick to chord tones. Non-chord tones outside of the scale you're using, played on a stressed beat, like the one we're using here, will create a lot of attention and a lot of tension. Now in this case, I'm using the fifth as a melody note for going and arriving at that note with a large jump. The octave interval at the beginning, from a B to a B, makes the melody jump out at you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
The lyric I wrote can be divided into three separate parts. I was going about my life in a state of denial. We have 4 bars to fit those lyrics in. 4 bars for 3 parts, 1 long and 2 shorter. When we divide these, it makes sense to use 2 bars for the first longer part and use the last 2 bars for each of the shorter parts. The stressed words state and denial could be placed on heavy parts of the 3rd and 4th bar. If I use the first beat of each bar for those 2 words, they'll be very clear. And if I anticipate them, playing them on the fore end of the previous bar, they'll even be more accented.
I can have the rhythm of the melody follow the rhythm of the accompaniment, but I don't have to. The first of those shorter parts is the word state. 1, 2, 3. In a state. I anticipate the melody, but the chord lands on top of the 1 of bar 3. This means that it feels like you're getting hit over the head with the C over G chord right after you sing state. The word denial is split in 3 parts, denial, of which the first is anticipated. Note that the recorded example you'll be hearing is in the key of F. The guitar is capoed up one fret.
Was going about my life in a state of denial.
Now at this point you might think, is this math or something? I'm just trying to write a song for Pete's sake. Well, luckily, because you've heard tens of thousands of hours of music and have years of playing and maybe singing behind your belt, all of this will come natural to you. By improvising and puzzling with melodies, chord grooves, and lyrics, you'll feel what is right for your song. You'll be able to write something that you like. All these observations can function as a toolkit at times when you get stuck, when something doesn't feel right, when words get garbled, or when the melody doesn't fit. By stepping back from the material and thinking about stress, stable and unstable notes, lengthening syllables, and swallowing certain sounds, you can get more information about how you say things, or in this case, how you sing your lyrics. And remember that before the audience start listening to words, they will first try to grab the rhythm of your vocals. Then they'll try to capture the melody itself, and only after that they will actually hear the words. How you sing it is more important than what you sing. The melody and its rhythm are the lubricant with which the lyrics slide down the audience's ear. Now, how many of us have been able to sing along with one of our favorite songs only to find out years after that we had garbled them and sang the wrong words? You misinterpreted the lines and sang something that was phonetically the same. But I bet you got the rhythm and the pitch correct, including all the inflections. There are a few very important conclusions that you can make from this section about puzzling lyrics and sticking a melody on top of it. The first is that you can use common speech patterns from conversation to get information about stress and pitch. Just say the words out loud and study the way that you say them. Stressed words often come on strong parts of the beat. Stressed words or syllables in a sentence are almost always higher in pitch. Stressed words or syllables will often be chord tones unless you have a specific goal. When you're asking a question or there's more to come in an expression, you can use unstable melody notes or a harmony that begs for more. And for the melody, we can say, choose the subset of notes for your melody wisely. Think about things like atmosphere, mood, genre. Pay attention to the contour and structure of the melody. Use the structural contour notes to shape your melody. Think about ascending contour lines, descending lines, arches up and down. Vary them in your song. Think about the location of stable and unstable notes. Chord tones sound strongest, and all the notes in between are weaker. Also think about stableness in regards to the scale you are using and in regards to the chord that's in the background. Large jumps up and down attract attention. Syncopation and anticipation attract attention. And there's more. In the next section we'll talk about openness and closeness of the melody and the influence of phrase structures.